My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a late night edition of the Gallop Out. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson, joined as always by the co-host, Jackson Muniz, is class president. What's going on, Jackson? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just got back from dinner. There is a lot going on outside, so I'm going to try to ignore everything that's going on outside of my room. But other than that, it's good, and I'm excited for the Saturday, as always.
It's a party at Casa de Muniz, but it is also a party out at Tampa at Oldsmar, Florida this weekend. We're doing the late pick 5, which is actually covering races 7 through 11 on their 12 race program. So keep in mind, there is a maiden race to kind of end the day there, but we're not going to be covering that one. We're going to cover the late pick 5 at Tampa, races 7 through 11, 4 of those stakes. And then we have a maiden race in between that we probably won't spend all that much time on, but we'll definitely go over it. Checked in with the chat as we were playing the intro. Noah Maher, little bro, is in here. Yeah, thanks for joining, Noah. All right, we're just gonna get on into it. Race number 7, stake race to kick things off. Listed stake, 3-year-olds for the Columbia. We're going a mile on the grass. Race number 7, I'm going 2-5. Jackson is going 1-5. Jackson, you're gonna start with the rail with Naughty Nicks. I watched the replay for this. I didn't know what to make of it, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, well, I just felt like the favorites in here that we're going to talk about are kind of just okay. You have Proton on top, who I don't know. I thought he was lucky to be second on that race on the Breeders' Cup undercard when they just went so slow that he kind of got second by default because no one was able to close at all. And then he came back in the next race at Del Mar and didn't run nearly as well. And that field hasn't really turned out to be that good. So I was kind of against him. I'm hoping that Naughty Nicks can turn the table on the favorite in this race. That's Alpeland. Because I thought he ran okay last time. There wasn't really a lot of pace. You're going to see this pace really hold together up front. I know the fractions look a little quick, but it's Gulfstream Park. You're going to see fast fractions. It's more about how they do it. And they didn't go that fast. The speed held together. And I thought he made a bit of a move into that pace I thought he ran fine to get fourth. Does he need to run better on Saturday? Yes. Does he need more help up front? Probably. And I'm not so sure he's going to get it. I also don't think there's a huge gap, though, between him and Alpeland. And Alpeland's 9-5 on the morning line. Naughty Nicks is 6-1. I think there's enough separation on the odds to take a little shot on Naughty Nicks and hope that he gets the pace presence that he needs up front to be effective.
Yeah, we're watching the stretch drive there before I clicked off of it for whatever reason. DRF has been non-working lately with the high-speed scrubbing. But right as they were approaching the far turn, Naughty Nicks did get shuffled a little bit. The running of the race kind of started, and for whatever reason, he didn't for about, I want to say, 4 strides or so. And then he kind of got a late start into things. So that is certainly a positive you could look. You do get a rider upgrade from Lannery to Junior Alvarado, drew the rail, which is nice. I'm with you, though, on the pace scenario, which is what led me to take the number 2 Proton. I think Johnny V, Flavien Prat are going to have big days on Saturday. I think Johnny V is on all the live mounts where, obviously Flavien Prat is too. And, no disrespect to Irad, but I think these two are probably going to lead in the wins as the day goes on Saturday, Tampa Bay Derby Day. And I think Proton's going to kick off the stakes action here for this late pick 5. I'm with you. I think kind of got, second in, I think you were talking about the Thoroughbred Aftercare on the Breeders' Cup Friday card. Just got second by virtue of, nobody really did a whole lot of running in there. And I'm not so much looking at any of those races as huge standouts, but never really got a solid pace. But this is one that's going to be forward, and I think Johnny's going to have that right kind of position early. And these are all late 2-year-old numbers. I think a natural progression into now, we're early March, but we're into a 3-year-old season a good bit. He's had what is that? Quick math, like almost 5 months, about 4 months off. Sorry, it's a little late. So about 4 months off, and he could certainly have grown up a whole lot. The work tab looks very sharp coming back, and I'd expect him to take a step forward. And I think this is one of those where 3-1's a very fair price, and I think he's going to be a pace factor early in a race where the pace scenario is kind of in question. And then obviously we got to talk about the favorite, Jackson, in the number 5, Alpeland. Lost last time to Thousand Sticks, who just came back Fountain of Youth weekend to lose. If I'm thinking of the right one, because Brian Lynch had an awful Fountain of Youth weekend, to put it lightly, with Wolfie's Dynaghost, a no-show, and then Sister Troyenne getting caught. Thousand Sticks, though, he just kind of threw in the towel in that race. He didn't run his best whatsoever. We know he's a better horse than what he showed this past weekend. What do you make of Alpeland? And then Johnny V hops off of this horse to ride Proton. I thought that was at least a little bit interesting. I know we don't like to go into jockey musical chairs too much.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to make of that, to be honest, because I didn't notice that. And okay, that's a little iffy, I would say. But maybe, I mean, there can be all kinds of stories behind that. So until we hear otherwise, I'll just play the horse based on how he's running his past races. And the last two were good. He really didn't have a huge excuse last time, like you said. I mean, he was always saving ground, was in a good spot, and just couldn't quite get to those top two. But he also ran a pretty fast race relatively compared to the rest of this field, to what this field has been running out of late. So I view him as a horse to beat. He's got tactical speed and a race without a lot of it. So he's going to be pretty tough in the spot.
He is going to be pretty tough, and he's gotten those steady buyer progressions as well, where he's paired up. When you look at the efforts 3 and 4 back, paired up those 74s, jumped up to an 84. He's now paired up those 84s. So, I mean, if he takes a natural progression forward from Mark Cassie, who he's had a red-hot Oaklawn meet, he's been 17% at Tampa so far, and yeah, I mean, he's going to set the right kind of tactical trip, but I feel like he is beatable in this spot, and you and I both share in that, as you're picking the rail horse Naughty Nick's on top to turn the tables, and I'm choosing kind of the new face in the number 2 Proton, at least against this group. Last horse I want to mention very, very quickly is the number 8 Beautiful War. Wasn't able to find the work on March 1st, but it looked like he was certainly working sharply. Raced on March 8th, and that was a nice maiden breaking performance to start the career for this 3-year-old gelding. I obviously love the breeding for going 2 turns on the turf. I worry maybe the water's a little bit too deep here, because you do have some, kind of salty horses for what this group turned out to be. But this is one that I think could maybe sneak into the money with a good trip, but is also probably going to need a little bit of pace. Wrapping up race number 7, I'm going 2-5. Jackson's going 1-5. We're now moving to the main track. 6 furlongs, 3-year-old fillies, maiden special weight. I'm going 2-9. Jackson, you're going 2-10. We're going to start with the number 2, Right Timing, for Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. This is not the strongest maiden special weight field for a day like Tampa Bay Derby, but Chad Brown is not going to send, an also ran in this field. I'd have a feeling that this horse can do a little bit of running. Obviously, the breeding has been working with a horse. I want to say the horse's name is Aftermath, but I might be wrong on that one.
Amazon Warrior.
That was not that close. I got the AM. Nope, I just got the A.
Just the A, yeah.
Just the A. Amazon Warrior, who I don't believe has had a start yet, but Right Timing, I got to imagine these Not This Times can do anything. Being out of a quality road dam, probably going to want to go longer. But, I mean, this wasn't the strongest field. Jackson, you and I both chalked out with the favorite.
Yeah, let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, this field has not run much at all up to this point. And if Right Timing is any kind of decent horse for the Chad Brown barn, she's really supposed to win. I mean, it's not going to take much more than, a 60 buyer to win this thing based on what this field has done up to this point. And, the one most recent workout that was on tape, that was on February the 21st, she popped the gate, broke really sharply, and was under basically a stranglehold the entire workout. They finally let her run for maybe not even half a furlong. They let her run very, very short little bursts, and she took off as soon as they asked her to. So I do think there was some ability there. She definitely got the best of that workmate in that drill. And obviously the workmate is a first-time starter, but they did pay $400,000 for the workmate. So I got to imagine the horse can run at least a little bit, and Right Timing put her away pretty nicely. So she shows up, she breaks. She's probably supposed to win. I don't think she's going to be any kind of bettable price. It's Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt on a big Saturday.
Yeah. I'd have to imagine your second choice in the betting is going to be the number 8 Fidela, who I think is just going to take money naturally because of the jockey booking of IRAD. Keep note that this horse was entered today, actually, at Gulfstream Park, scratched out, as far as I'm concerned, for race 6. Scratched out, so will run, I would expect, in this spot on Saturday. So I think this is going to be the second choice. but not for me and not for you. I'm going to take the horse in the number 9, going turf to dirt for Carrie Raven. Obviously, the breeding scream serve. This is just I needed a horse to finish in second. I didn't want to take the logical second choice. So this one has been forward going longer, was forward going shorter, 2 back at Gulfstream Park going 5 flat. And that's normally indication that this horse has some early speed, has since switched trainers. But, I'm just looking for a second place finisher in here, and I don't want to take the 8. You took the 10 in Techstar.
Just feels like she could be the best of the speed in this spot, and she does have the outside post. Some of those buyers she earned last year's 2-year-old are actually pretty solid when you stack them up against what this field has done as of late. She does also get Lasix for the first time, which we can see Lasix improve these speed horses quite a bit at times. So, maybe it does shake her up a little bit, and she can not pick up some pieces. She can hang on and get second behind this Chad Brown filly.
Yeah, certainly hope so. Low level connections, but could possibly pose a big level upset. Wrapping up race number 8, I'm going 2-9. Jackson's going 2-10. Picks are on the screen for race number 9. We're back into the graded stakes action for the remaining 3 races. Grade 2 Hillsborough stakes for the 4-year-old fillies and mares and upward. We're going 9 panels on the turf. Jackson's going 8. I'm going 8-2. Jackson is going 6-2. Let's start the conversation real quick, Jackson, with the rail horse and Whiskey Decision, who definitely encountered some traffic last time at the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf at Gulfstream Park on Pegasus Day. What were your reasons for fading this favorite?
I feel like this whole field is pretty similar in ability. Like, I feel like you can run this race 100 times and no one would dominate. Like, I think they would be splitting hairs. Maybe Whiskey Decision is the most likely win in this race, but I don't think the margin is that big. And again, we're going to talk about it with Chad Brown and Flavien Prat, and this horse is graded stakes winner, inside post, just a lot of things that people are going to gravitate towards. And she's probably going to be a little overbet in my eyes, and I just don't want to take too short of a price on her. I don't really have too many knocks. I mean, she ran well last time. She did have a tiny bit of traffic. I don't think she was going to win, but she definitely would have been closer. She's a logical contender. I think some other horses are a little more interesting at more attractive prices.
Yeah, logical contender. Do you note during using the incremental pace figures by DRF Formulator, she did close the fastest in that race last time out. So she encountered some traffic, which I thought was reasonable. A horse that really just kind of threw in a weird effort over the Gulfstream Park turf course, which not the first time we've said or heard that, was the number 2 Proctor Street, who's a very talented 5-year-old mare. Was ridden by Tyler Gaffleone that day, and that was really the first effort on the page that was just an absolute head scratcher, as she kind of made that move, but kind of at the 16th pole, she just kind of threw in the towel and was done. What do you make of that effort? Do you think it was just the turf course, as she is going to be at her, believe it or not, her 5th different turf course in 5 consecutive in her last 5 starts? So she's well traveled, and she's handled pretty much every turf course well, obviously, except for Gulfstream Park last time out. What do you make of that effort? And do you obviously think she can bounce back a little bit, as you picked her in second, as did I?
Yeah, I just feel like you're supposed to think about giving her another chance in here if she's going to actually be 9-2, because her best race is as good as anyone else in this field, as we've seen from her previous form. She was really good. She ran at Churchill Downs and ran well. She ran at Keeneland. She ran at Saratoga. I mean, she's done well all these tracks. Maybe she just doesn't like the Gulfstream turf course, and it can be a tricky turf course. It's very different than those turf courses we just talked about in Kentucky and in New York. I don't know, though. I don't know about you, Ryan. She had a really good trip. She saved all the ground. The Red Seas parted for her. She had every opportunity to run well, and she never even put in a real bid. So maybe it just wasn't her day. I do think it's encouraging that we don't see any scary layoff or anything. She is back in reasonably, at a reasonable time. It's been 5 or 6 weeks since then. She's had a few works. She drew well again. So they must think it must be a race that they can just kind of cross out. And if you're right, you're going to get paid, it seems like.
Yeah, and this is not a horse that you have been accustomed to getting a good price at, as she was favored in starts 3 and 4 back. She was 9-2 last time, but I mean, that was a very strong field looking back at it for, the runners and how well they performed. And she just did so little running in there. But yeah, she does come back quickly. She gets the likes of Johnny V in the saddle. So all of those are positives. And I'm with you. The fact that there was no layoff line and they really didn't even miss a beat off that race tells me that she just kind of threw in a clunker that day. And some of these 5-year-old mares are able to do so. And obviously, I hope the 9-2 sticks because I think that's going to be a very fair price. And you mentioned the Red Seas kind of parted. She never really put in a run. Her and was it Tax Implications? Was that the Chad Brown horse in the Pegasus World Cup? What was that horse's name? Anyway, those were the two horses program trading. Those were the two horses that had the best trips that did absolutely nothing on Pegasus World Cup weekend. You are going with
the one thing I will say, Ryan, is I don't necessarily believe this myself, but I did see some talk that maybe on the outer turf races on Pegasus Day, that the inside was not the place to be. And she was on the rail the whole time, as was program trading. Again, I watched those back, and I'm not so sure I believe that necessarily, but there has been some discussion about that at least.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Obviously, Pegasus Day, that turf course is wonky. They don't technically have the outer turf course. They put the rails out at 66 feet. So really the only way to tell is you got to go in and you got to, look at the thing. But that's an excellent point because those two definitely play like completely different turf courses. Should note the rails are down at Tampa this week after yesterday they were out somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 feet,
something like that.
Something like that. So they are going to be down. So keep track of how the track is playing. You're only going to have one turf race before this late pick 5 sequence. So that's going to be race number 5, the 9 furlong non-winners of one other than allowance race. So just kind of keep an eye to see if hopefully it's a fair run race, and hopefully you can kind of tell if maybe that inside is going to be good. Maybe it's going to be speed. Hopefully it's a fair racetrack. Jackson, let's talk really quickly about the favorite, Destino d'Oro, coming off a win in the Pegasus Filly and Mare World Cup turf. And obviously great ride under Junior Alvarado that day, getting the job done. What were your thoughts on this filly as she continues to kind of improve start by start?
She's in really good form. There's no doubt about it. She did get a good setup last time. She got a good setup 2 back, but she was able to take advantage of both those races and win against some pretty decent fields. It just feels like, 2 back was probably the time to have her. Last time was definitely the time to have her at 15-1, and now you're going to have to swallow a short price. Maybe she's not favored, but she's going to be a close second choice if she's not. So she's another one that her best race puts her right there, but it's just about a matter of how short of a price do you want to take on her.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to be too short for my liking. And I thought the morning line was a little bit interesting, and I thought it was accurate, though, where Whiskey Decision was the favorite over Destino d'Oro, despite the fact that Destino d'Oro just beat Whiskey Decision among some others in that last race. You are going with your top pick now, as we'll finally get to that horse, and the number 6, Child of the Moon, Irad Ortiz, Chad Brown, obviously a highly thought of mare when she came over to the States in 2024, and now 6-year-old mare. She came back last time, lost to Sweet Rebecca, who does not show up in here, but that was a good comeback race for her.
I thought so too, and I've always kind of been a big fan of her. I thought she was really impressive when she first came over the States. That was two summers ago now, up in Saratoga. Her first race she closed in slow pace, and then second time out she ran well, and then she somehow won that Athena Stakes race, closing to a really slow pace. I mean, it took the entire 9 furlongs for her to get there. Then they tried to matriarch and wasn't quite at that level. But again, that was a race that came at a mile. I do think she's going to be better going this longer distance. And the comeback race was perfect. I mean, she got a good trip in there. She was just second best to Sweet Rebecca, who's a good filly in her own right. And I think it's going to set her up really nicely for the stakes race that's probably been the target since they decided to bring her back. And again, this race is going to be the 9 furlongs that she probably prefers. I think there's going to be enough pace, at least enough pace to make it honest, and she'll come running with her run late, and she's going to be the right kind of price. She's 5-1, and she's another one that is capable of running that low to mid 90s buyer that it seems like is what it's going to take to win this thing. So I'm going to pick her on top, and hopefully we actually get that price with Irad riding.
I like it going with the other Chad. This one should have maybe a little bit more forward position than her stablemate in Whiskey Decision. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on. I went all the way to the outside in the number 8 and one more time. In my opinion, bit of a funky trip last time in the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf, which is a name that I've said so many times already. But was up on the front there, and obviously the closers kind of came to get her late in that race. But I felt like there's not a whole ton of early gas in here, and she's one that definitely is going to be towards the front end. And if somebody is aggressive, she's shown that she's shown that sitting is probably her preferred way of going. She kind of just found herself on the lead last time after a bit of an awkward beginning to that race. Javier Castellano is obviously going to stick aboard. This is third start of the form cycle, and you did see a bit of a regression off the Tropical Park Oaks where she lost by a head to Destino Dora, who we talked about, who came right back to win in the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf. That being said, again, she's going to kind of have a little bit of a pace advantage. Jackson, you and I pay attention to Tampa, and it's been playing pretty forward, pretty speed the last few weeks here. Obviously, the rail settings could change that. But in a race that lacks a lot of pace and is kind of looking for a horse to take a step up, is we've talked about those mid 90 buyers, what it's going to take to win. She runs back to that Tropical Park Oaks. She's going to need to improve, but she doesn't have to improve all that much. And I think I'm willing to excuse the trip last time out.
Yeah, I actually thought it was not a bad effort at all, considering it was an interesting trip for sure. It was not the best ride, and maybe it was because she was just a little too rank in that spot. But with the lack of pace signed on in here, I mean, I guess this big long shot, the number 5 Aunt Mo, could go to the front if she actually stays in the starting gate. But if she doesn't, I mean, and one more time has to go. I mean, that's the way you're going to win this race. There's not a lot of other speed. You could have a 2-length lead going on a pretty sensible pace if they wanted to do so. And I think that's got to be the plan for Saturday for.
Yeah, it does. And those pace advantages, especially at Tampa, they you can certainly take advantage of them. And if Aunt Mo does find herself on the front end and in this body and in this race, I should say, and one more time, is more than happy to kind of just sit off and have that one target to kind of go and get. So curious to see how the dynamics of this race play out. Wrapping up race number 9, I'm going 8-2. Jackson is going 6-2. We spent a lot of time on that race. We're going to move on though to race number 10. It's the Grade 3 Florida Oaks for the 3-year-olds. I'm going 9-5. Jackson's going 9-5. So this one going to be a little bit quicker. We're going to start with our top pick, Coco Motion. And Jackson, I'm going to turn it to you first, but we're going to watch the replay as they are entering the far turn. Let me mute Jason Beam real quick, but we're going to cue the replay as they enter the far turn and just kind of take us through what you're watching here. She's going to be the number 10, by the way, horse 6.
Sorry?
Horse 6, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I was just pointing out to.
Yeah, so she's in the black silk. She's making this move on the outside already. They're going in the far turn. She's already passed half the field because she kind of got shoveled back a little early on in the race. She broke okay and then found herself way back there in the back of that back. So she passes out the field. She's making this wide, sustained bid on the far turn. So she's gone from last to first and maybe a furlong and a half. She's done it while going wide. And then you're going to kind of just see her. I mean, she just takes off. And you just do not see this kind of turn of foot in grass races. You don't see winning margins like this in grass races. And it doesn't look like she's, I don't know, Ryan, did it look like she was stopping you? I didn't think so. I mean, she seems like she's still separating as they cross the wire. The number came back, I believe, was around, actually, let me double check it before I say. 74, which, isn't going to blow anyone away, but it also looks pretty legit based on what everyone else was running up to that point. I mean, everyone else kind of replicated or was around the same range of the grass figures they were running before. I don't think she had an ideal trip by any means. And if she can take any kind of step forward, I think she's supposed to be pretty dangerous against this field. I don't know who she's supposed to be afraid of. I'm not a Time to Dream fan. To me, she kind of took advantage of a softer group up at Saratoga before the fillies kind of caught up to her later in the year. And then outside of that, I mean, there's just not a whole lot to be afraid of. So I think she's really interesting, and I hope she's able to run well on Saturday. And I hope we actually get that 92 price, because sometimes horses like this, the super, super flashy maiden winners can be way over bet. I won't be surprised at all, Ryan, if she goes off like a 2-1, in which case I probably wouldn't be as interested.
She very well could, but look at that closing time. I mean, look, let's not act like she faced a ridiculous field last time out. The field was not very good, I don't think. And your favorite in Tax Holiday was down on the rail for Flavien Prat, got basically completely shut off as they were kind of going around the far turn. And he basically had no other choice but to just kind of wrap up and try another day. All the running of the race had already started, and this horse had nowhere to go. And it was a good intention by Pratt, but obviously it didn't pan out that time. All that to say, though, Coco Motion destroyed this field. It was not like, she looped around and just kind of held on. I kept the replay going through the Gallop Out because she galloped out so strong. She kept going. I mean, it wasn't like she pulled up after the wire. She kept going. And I think there's more in the tank. She made an eye-catching move. And to win a turf route by over 6 lengths is something you don't typically see. And it has to be a huge green flag that you get the addition of Johnny Velasquez in the saddle for Saturday. So I do think also, Jackson, from a pace scenario standpoint, I think there's going to be plenty of pace. You have the horse to the outside and Bramble Blast, who's stretching out. I think that's naturally going to get a horse forward. A horse even to the farther outside, and number one, like Legina, I don't know. Ridden by Junior Alvarado and Patrick Biancone. This is a horse that like has that mile speed and certainly off that allowance win is going to be forward as well. You have the horse right to the inside as a long shot at 50-1. I'd have to imagine that's the only way this horse has a remote chance. So the pace scenario certainly lines up, especially from the outside speed perspective, where they're going to have to go early. Before we talk about the number 5, our second choice, let's talk about the number 7, Time to Dream, who is 4-1 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf and did absolutely no running and was kind of the opposite of the Wise Guy horse in there, if I remember correctly. She was the horse that everybody was like, this horse is going to take money, and I don't know why. Jackson, I know you shared the same opinion going into there. I know many of our fellow peers did. What do you make of the comeback spot here? She's training forwardly, and I expect she's going to take somewhat of a step forward, but this is a spot where I want nothing to do with her.
I mean, I think she's found a good spot to make her 3-year-old debut, and it's not the toughest field she's going to meet this year, probably. I'm not convinced she's actually that good. I mean, the race she won in the stakes versus Saratoga, she won in a scratch reduced field where the two biggest the biggest threat to her didn't run. And then after that, there was not much behind her. So she won at 3-5 and did what she was supposed to do, to her credit. But then she came back at Keeneland and was terrible. I know people said she had a little trouble. No, she didn't have any trouble. She just was no good. And then she was even worse in the Breeders' Cup. So, maybe this is a field she is just better than and she can beat, but she's going to be doing it at too short of a price for me. And I'm just not that interested in her.
Yeah, to me, she has one number on the page that's going to win, and it was a 76 buyer in the PG Johnson at Saratoga. And those were her 2 strongest races on the page. The maiden breaking, I know maybe not her strongest buyer, but in terms of, blow away performance and eye-catching victory, that certainly did it. And sometimes we kind of get trapped into that summer at the spa where, some horses really do love it up there, whether it's the Saratoga Spring Water or whatever it is. Some of those horses just absolutely freak and have a baby Yoda time of their lives. But I think Time to Dream, I want to have her prove it to me. If she comes back, she's very talented, and I expect she took a step forward. And to see Irad keep the mount when I'm sure he could have had other calls in here, certainly something that I think is, worth some credit. But a horse that you and I both landed on in second that I don't think we're going to get 6-1 on this horse, but possibly in the amount of competition that there is. Dandona for Tagamine Racing, Flavian Pratt riding for Safi Joseph. Now, Safi has an awful record in turf stake races. He's not very good. He's like 6 for the past 130. I want to say the number is 126 maybe. It's not very good, but he does have 6 winners. One of those was out on the West Coast, and I think it was Be Your Best. Other than that, I couldn't really name the other ones. But Jackson, Dandona, we both landed on this one. Good move last time. Seemed to maybe figure things out a little bit. What were your thoughts on this filly stepping up big time here?
Yeah, I thought she ran fine. That was a race where the pace was so slow, and she was dead last early on, and really up into the stretch. She didn't really have a place to go, and I thought she closed pretty nicely to get up for third. She was getting to backgammon late. That was going 7.5. She also stretches out today. I just think there are reasons to like her if she takes a step forward and if she gets the right kind of pace set up in here. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I do think we're actually going to get a square price on her if you're a fan of her, because I do think Coco Motion being 9-2 is just too high. She's going to come down, go off that super flashy debut. And Time to Dream will take our fair share too. So I think you might actually get a good price on her. And, as a 3rd or 4th choice, she's pretty interesting in this spot. The other horse I want to mention is Special Wood, because this was a filly that took a lot of money this fall in the Jimmy Durante, and she didn't run a step, and that field was not great. But the fact that she took that much money, I thought was a little interesting. That also came at a time when Thomas Proctor barn, they could have had Secretariat and they wouldn't have won. I mean, I think they were 0 for 50 last year. And at this meet, all of a sudden they're 10 for 25, hitting at a 40% clip, and they're hitting the board at 80% clip. So something has happened in that barn, but they're on fire.
A lot of Secretariats in that barn right now.
Yeah, so if Secretariat was in that barn now, they would win, which is good. That's what you kind of want to see. I think we're going to see a much better effort than we saw from her in the fall. And she's one that's going to be a big price in a field where the favorites are, they're going to be tough, but they're not unbeatable. So she's more of like a backup in a pick 5, but I do think she's a little interesting as the price source in this race.
She is interesting at a price. She's one I had picked in 4th when I went through everything. The horse that I had in 3rd, talk about very, very quickly. I just thought Abigail deserved a look. I mean, she's in really good form. She's won her last 2 races by wide open lengths. And I think our buddy Noah Maher was in the chat also talking up this horse. But, you can't ignore a horse in good form. And I mean, the trainer is in just as good a form as anybody out at Tampa right now. Miguel Clement, 10 for 27. That's a nice 37% with 10 additional in the money. So when you're 20 of your 27 have finished 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, that's not a stat you can ignore. So Abigail, I think, definitely deserves a look. Switching off Lasix for the stakes debut. Moving on now, actually, we'll wrap up race number 10. Jackson and I are in lockstep. We're going 9-5. And surprise, surprise, in race number race number 11, which I need to change the number of. Race number 11, that's 111. We're falling apart, Jackson. We've made it.
I'm doing great. I don't know about you.
31 minutes.
I'm killing it.
All right, race number 11. I'm going 9-5. Jackson's also going 9-5. This is, of course, the feature on the day. It's the mile and a 16th Tampa Bay Derby. $400,000 purse for, of course, the 3-year-old boys. Jackson, we landed with our top pick in the number 9 Canaletto for the Magnier and Tabor group. We're going to go ahead and show the maiden breaking performance, and we'll fast forward a little bit here. But looking at the number 9, you and I both landed on this horse on top, trying something new for the first time, going 2 turns.
Yeah, he is, and I hope he's a second choice in here. I'm against further ado in this spot. That's kind of my main opinion in this race, and I will also admit that he had everything his own way in this spot. Then speaking about Canaletto, he had the outside post. He had his main rival completely miss the break and then kind of rush up and duel. He was also on the best part of the track the whole time around there. I'm willing to acknowledge all of that. He also was super impressive, as we're going to see him as he hits the top of the stretch, and he just pulls away from this field. Really, in the final furlong, he was kind of inching away, and then as his race continued to get longer, he really started figuring things out. Pulls away from this field really nicely and ran really well, and the number came back pretty fast. So I don't see any reason why he's not going to continue to get better with more distance and more racing. The issue is he didn't have a straw on his path in this race, but he got the outside post again. So I don't think that's, he's not going to have traffic trouble. He's got enough speed to be fourthly placed. Maybe he's a little too wide, but he's going to be close to the front. And I just think that race was really good, and he's pretty talented. Hopefully we get the right kind of price on him on Saturday.
I would hope so. We're watching him turn for home again. The only knock I have for his maiden breaking performance is he took a little bit longer, and you can see it right now, to switch leads coming down the stretch. And that might be just a fact that he's a first-time starter in that field, and he blew them away. And once he switched leads, he leveled off really, really nicely and drew away to beat that field by 8. Spartacus, who drew the rail for Pletcher and Johnny V that day, we haven't seen him run back since. Maybe as a slight second choice in there. Obviously, the money kind of had to go somewhere else in there. But this horse, purchased for $1 million, certainly looked the part in the debut. And I think, obviously, looking at the breeding, should have no problem stretching around the 2 turns. So that's one that I'm also very excited about. And I'm with you, Jackson. I'm trying to beat this horse in Further Ado, who last time out, got the job done at 3-5 in the Kentucky Jockey Club. And I think a regression from that 98 at Keeneland, which was absurd, a 20-length victory on the short stretch at Keeneland too, was just absolutely unbelievable, I think would be a good word. And came back to run well in that next start in the Jockey Club, got the job done. This is the first start to the 3-year-old season. Jackson, you got to think that Brad Cox had commandment, and Irad does land here, by the way, over Power Shift, the horse to the inside that he rode on debut. But this is a graded stakes winner over a maiden second place finisher. So I don't think there's too much to read into that. But Further Ado, I can't imagine he's gonna be cranked up for an A+ effort here. I am trying to play against him. I think kind of regardless of that, I think he's a clear play against, in my opinion, and clearly you share that viewpoint as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like wildly against him, but he is the horse to beat for sure. And if he runs back that race at Keeneland, he's probably going to beat this field. It's just the Kentucky Jockey Club race, just it wasn't nearly as good. And he was somewhat close to the pace. He did get the job done, got the best of the speeds, held off the deeper closers. But that form of that race just has not really held up. I mean, Universe didn't come back to run too well. Soldier Diplomat hasn't done much. There just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot in there. Cherokee Nation took him 5 more starts to finally run a big race. Now he's in great form, but at the time, not really. So I just don't know how good that field was that he beat in that race. And I definitely don't think that field he beat at Keeneland was great. Obviously, he beat him by 20, so maybe that doesn't matter at all. But Keeneland can be a tricky track where there's horses that love it and jump and move up over it, and some horses just don't. And he seems like a horse that clearly thrived over that racetrack because he hasn't run a race like that even close to that performance before or since then. So I think you're supposed to try to beat him in this spot.
Yeah, he's a horse to maybe look for later on in the 3-year-old season. Obviously, you can see he's by Gun Runner. We've seen what they do as they get older and as they get into their deep 3-year-old season and 4-year-old campaigns, and they could certainly take a step forward. So that's one, maybe later on down the line, this is just a starting off point. One of the last horses we're going to talk about is the number 5 Power Shift. Jackson, it's not often you running 96 buyer on debut and you lose, but that was the case for Power Shift in here. And we're going to go towards the far turn where, I don't want to be too critical of one of the best jockeys in the country and Irad Ortiz, but he got caught asleep at the wheel by Flavien Prat here.
I don't know. Did he? I mean, the horse ran a 96 buyer and got beat a length by another really nice prospect.
Yeah.
Maybe
look at the way Irad's riding right now. He doesn't even know that this horse Emerging Market is coming up behind him. He didn't know till about right here, and then he starts riding. To me, it looked like Flavien Prat, obviously, who's one of the better jockeys, best in the country, in my opinion. And,
did he surprise him? Sure, yeah. Did he catch him napping? I don't know. That seems like a little to me. Caught him napping would be like what we saw at Gulfstream Park this past weekend.
Okay, that's fair.
When it cost him the race, I don't think it cost him the race. I think he just lost to a really nice horse. I'm not taking anything away from Power Shift. He's a top prospect too. Ran really fast number, and there's obviously expectations here. Just wonder if this is maybe a little bit too much too soon for him. I mean, he ran just 4 weeks ago, and this is a tough group as well. And he's got to beat not just one good horse, but a few other good horses. So maybe he does win. Maybe he's that type of horse, and we'll see him make some noise on this Derby trail. But for me, I like him a little bit better underneath.
Yeah, I like him underneath as well. This is a big test as still a maiden. Emerging Market we'll obviously see later on in this 3-year-old campaign on the way to the Derby. Jackson, that is the late pick 5 from Tampa Bay Downs. Is there a horse that if you're playing this sequence, who are you going to lean on? And then who's the best favorite you're going to, or not the best favorite, excuse me, but who's the favorite you're going to try and beat in this? Is it going to be Whiskey Decision? Is it going to be Further Ado? Is it going to be both of them?
It would probably be Further Ado, just because I think he's going to be the one that people probably lean on the most. If I had to guess, like he's going to be the shortest price outside of that Chad Brown horse that we talked about. So that'd probably be my answer. Would be try to beat Further Ado, and I guess you'd try to lean on the Chad Brown filly. It's not going to be a lot of value in doing that, but she does seem like the most likely winner of the sequence, and I don't see any reason
in the maiden race. You mean?
Yes. Sorry, that is race 8. Right Timing is the name, so that's probably the one I would lean on.
Yeah, I think I agree with you where the other races are very competitive, where I think any of the top 3-4 contenders could win that race. I'm looking forward to playing against Further Ado as well. That's a horse that won't be on any of my tickets. That's a horse that if he comes out and he wins on Saturday, he is going to absolutely beat me. I think the one I'm going to play against as well is going to be Whiskey Decision, but that one, I certainly respect that horse's efforts, and the post draw with Flavien Prat obviously scares me a little bit coming off of the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf disappointment. That being said, I'm with you. Right Timing feels like the most likely winner in this sequence because she doesn't have to do a whole lot to win. I think a 65 to a 70 buyer wins that field maybe by open lengths, and I think Chad debuting a maiden on this card is more than capable of that. So I do agree with you there. I'm excited, I will say, to see Proctor Street run. I think that she's much better than what she showed last time. And I think she can certainly redeem herself for a disappointing effort last time out. Jackson, this is a late night rendition of the Gallop Out, but to everybody that was watching, we had about 50 of you in here or so. So we thank all of you for taking time out of your Thursday at 9:45 p.m. To watch us here. But Jackson, good show, good sequence, and honestly, I'm excited to play this late pick five, probably more than most sequences this weekend. It's not a huge weekend. We covered the big cap on Pacific Horse Players over on HHH, but the big cap is a bit of a yikes type of race right now with the scratches with Westwood and Skippy Longstocking not going to be in there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this sequence. Thanks for joining me late night. I know I'm yapping as you say. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week. It's been Jackson Muniz, Ryan Anderson here on the Gallop Out. Have a good one.